Hey, bro. So,
What's up, bro?
yeah, a lot has been going on. I actually had to start this recording the second time because I just kind of lost my train of thought before we jumped onto this. And I guess, yeah, welcome everybody back. Today, we don't really have a show in place, not because that we are. I mean, content is kind of lacking, I have to admit, because my Twitter feed, my all my
Everything.
usual avenues and yeah, everything, all my streams
Wherever
of
you go to get
information that I,
news, wherever you go to get news,
yeah,
it's saturated
it's filled with the conflict.
with
Yeah,
the conflict.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the conflict that we are talking about is the Israel and Palestine situation at the moment. Yeah, some like to call it Israel Hamas situation, and I think the idea is not about picking sides, but being the kind of show we are. We talk about the terrifying. We talk about the technology, the role of technology, in people's lives, in working, at home, in everyday life, daily life. We cover all kinds of things. So I guess if someone has been following this show for the last like 10-ish episodes that we've had, um, I just kind of felt that not talking about the role of technology and propaganda in the midst of the conflict, the ongoing conflict that is happening at the moment, is kind of just absurd for us not to talk about it. Kind of, actually, kind of hypocritical because we're talking about robotics, we're talking about AI, we're talking about all these things. But the crux of it is that we always, in the beginning, let's be honest, Citizen bought the name. It was just a cool fucking name that I think Soeb came up with, and I thought, okay, it's amazing. Let's have a name, and it kind of had that eerie ring to it in terms of it's a name that kind of yes, it kind of goes along with that classic Citizen Kane, the movie by Orson Welles, but at the same time, it's anti-establishment, it's anti a lot of things, and at the same time, the idea is that in a weird way, the bots, all they do is just follow commands. Bots are kind of lifeless, um, and they kind of represent the whole idea of just consume, 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 do, work, work, work.
Obey, consume, do not
Follow
ask
orders,
questions.
do not ask questions. But the irony was that we were actually talking about the tech, and we were talking about daily events that are happening in the world of tech
We weren't just talking
and
about
new
tech. We
technologies
were
that are
talking about
coming
the
out.
tech,
Yeah,
and we were also talking about the influencers and the people who are out there who promote this kind of tech,
yeah,
and
and
they
the impact
themselves are
on the
like,
human beings,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, or the impact on us, the impact on people who are
yeah.
listening to us, right? So, or that one person who's listening to us. So today I did have a couple of topics. Soeb also kind of had a couple of links, and it just did not feel right to talk about advancement in, guess, the next level of AI, or how your
AI
next
is built.
Zoom call meeting is going to be different from the ones that you already had, which we'll talk about in the future. But I just felt that I'm actually mentally very disturbed by what is going on in Palestine, in Gaza, in even in Israel. Like a lot of people are dying. So I think not talking about the propaganda is at an all-time high at the moment, and it is happening very clearly, and there's a lot of information. So I don't feel that certain platforms, media outlets are definitely picking sides. So, but I feel
No,
that
they have pick sides
Twitter,
from day one. They have pick
yeah, but I
sides.
feel
Yeah,
that Twitter is so flooded because in the past,
yeah,
before Elon Musk bought Twitter, Twitter was very controlled. It was very left, and
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people were kind of blocked. Now nobody's blocked. Everybody is having a go, and my funnel of information is so flooded. It's so hard to make out what is real, what is not
Yeah,
real.
what is real, what
We
not
have
real?
AI generated images.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
some
Yeah.
really explicit stuff has been coming out of the war, and the overall, like, even Joe Rogan, right? I think he was talking about it to Redman in one of his podcasts. I just saw a clip from it where he goes like, I go to sleep at night and I'm kind of worried, what's going to happen, like how the conflict is going to turn into World War III. And well, I have not been having those kind of thoughts, but I definitely am worried that how technology has completely failed. Actually, if you think about it,
Yeah.
unless you know what you're looking for, you will not get the
You will not
information.
get what you
If you're
need, yeah.
someone who is, yeah, you will get nothing. You'll not get the right set of.
Look, even though
There are no right set of tools or avenues to find coherent news from a neutral point of view.
Yeah.
If you're not, let's say you don't want to pick a side, you just want to know what's going on. Like I just
like
want
there's
to
a couple of news like alternative news websites that I actually follow. And
Thanks for jumping in. I was going on a rant, but yeah.
yeah, I know. So I had to jump in there. See, if in the future the AI will actually just give you like a little notification saying that, hey, you know what, maybe you should stop working, stop shouting, stop speaking now. But anyway, yeah. So I follow a couple of like alternative news websites and alternative news sources. And even in that, bro, like I was very surprised. I thought this one alternative news source that was like super extremely lefty, and they were like kind of almost borderline communist, right? And
Yeah.
that's not to say that I actually approve of all the kind of news and the stances that they take, but it's just a refreshing perspective. But even though they were like on that side of the spectrum, when the news broke that there's this huge conflict happening, they almost immediately seemed to just pick like the side of the propagandist. Okay, they would just go right to that side, and they'd be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z stuff is happening, or Israel has the right to defend herself and everything. And I'm sitting there, and then you have to kind of dig deep into the news sphere, right? You have to dig a lot more deeper to get the story that is supposed to be coming from the other side, like things like Palestine has a right to defend itself, and the UN has given them the permission essentially to have an armed defense, stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, fine. So there's all this information that's supposed to be there. It's like, but this one side, there's so much bias towards that one side. Even on Twitter, the number of people who are just taking side with, who are siding with that side is just insane. It's just crazy.
I guess the algorithm as well, it does not understand what you're into. Because the feed basically, which in itself is a nightmare to manage, it doesn't understand which side you're on. I mean, I think they're not following the traditional route. Look, I don't claim to understand the algorithm of X. Okay, I don't think so. They're going down the same path that is usually what YouTube and the traditional, Facebook and the traditional social media employ. The tactic, which is if you like watching, videos of Legos, they'll just give you more Lego videos, right? So I don't think so. It's going down that path, and is not able to decipher either that person who's on X, who's giving that information, who's posting all that information, what side they're on.
Yeah,
that in itself is kind of hard as well. Right?
But I think that's a good thing. I think that's
you would get one post about. It's a positive.
Yeah. Because then you're not constricted to your own echo chamber. You're getting information from everywhere. It's just that information is just too much. You have to figure a way out to kind of just corral all that stuff and try it. And here's the thing: I never, honestly, before Citizen Bot, I never actually engaged in X or Twitter. Right? I never actually got into it. I had an account. And it was mostly an account that I used, to follow other, people in the tech sector, developers. I was following people like Elon Musk. I was following people like Bill Gates and all that stuff, right? The usual people that you're supposed to follow. But they're not people who will give you tech news. For example, Bill Gates will be mostly he'll just say some wild shit. He'll say some wild stuff. He'll say some climate stuff, and it's gotten to the point where people.
Vaccines.
I know. It's gone to the point where people have to just go, man, shut up, Bill, go home, you're drunk, people have to just say that, dude, just go back, just go back just go back to your mansion, leave us alone, just let it be. But yeah, in this case, when the conflict started, holy shit, the amount of information that just flooded the airwaves was just insane. You could just keep scrolling, and you would have one guy who's taking the side of Israel, you would keep scrolling. You have another like two people who are taking the side of Palestine and saying certain bits and pieces of information. The problem is, and this is very very sad. Okay, you and I, we lived in Dubai, right? We grew up in a Muslim environment. We were very young when the conflict was already there when we were super young. The conflict had already pre-existed while we were like really like children.
In the
basically.
70s, yeah, they had a bunch of wars in the 70s.
No, but the conflict was already pre-existing at the time when we were children. We were literally children.
Yeah, I mean,
and we never
a drone would fall there, a bomb will drop there. You know, that was normal. Like, you know, every other few days you would see.
Yeah. It's like 100 people died here, and there was an intifada. The Israeli military went into Aqsa and all that stuff.
100 people got
Yeah,
died.
it was so common that we were kind of desensitized to it, and that's what I'm afraid right now, that this conflict is going to become so common. Like, okay, Ukraine happened, right?
Right.
And that's funny as well. When Ukraine happened, people were obviously taking the side of the person who was being attacked, right?
The Western media is accepted. We're in Australia here.
Yeah.
The Western media mostly was on the side of
Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah, Ukraine.
And
when I remember Q&A that happened here on ABC.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Q&A on ABC. Some kid was there, or one of those university students, I guess.
Yeah.
He said that I have a Russian background, and I'm kind of worried that you guys are vilifying Russia and not giving us the the full lay of the not telling people the other side of the story or whatever. And I think he was rushed out or kind of just kicked off the
He
was not on the panel.
He wasn't on the panel. He was taken out. Yeah, he was taken away. Yeah, you're right. And that just shows you, right? So it's like one rule for one section of people, and then there's another rule for another section of people. And the only difference between the two, and I think this is not okay. I think the again, it's not a very complicated situation. Many people like to say that, it's very complicated, it's very complicated. It's not a very complicated situation. It's a matter of allegiances, right?
It's less complicated than the yes and no vote referendum.
Oh God. So. That is another thing that's been happening. Like, bro, it's like overwhelming, bro. Like, as a human being, as an average individual, you are being bombarded like this. Every single aspect of your existence is being brought into question. If, for those people who voted no, they're like, oh, why did you vote no? Like, and you guys are racist and bigots. And for those people who voted yes, they're all crying and they're all sad and they're like, did you see on LinkedIn? If you go on LinkedIn, every person who's voted yes.
I have not.
Bro, don't go there. It's depressing.
I wanted to focus on, for as much as I think it's beyond us. It's beyond us, and I think businesses should start focusing on
the way forward.
For all the businesses out there who were telling their employees, I think they should start focusing on the business itself, rather than focus on all this.
Rather than focus on all this stuff. Yeah.
People have made a decision. Let's move on, right?
Yeah.
And maybe,
but they won't.
Yeah, maybe focus on the people. Of course not. Maybe focus on the people who actually need the help, rather than. I think the thing is that the intention is there. They're well intentioned. People who want to vote yes. For people who have voted yes and they feel they're disappointed, don't be. Because I don't think. A lot of people have actually made it very clear. Ministers in the parliament who represent Aborigines, that it was not, this yes vote was not going to help. The plan, the strat that Albanese said was not going to help the Aboriginal people. The Aboriginal need a different kind of support. They already spend $50 billion every year, man.
Just for this vote, they've spent $500 million of our taxpayer money, bro.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, so I think that was also going on, which was on the 14th of October is when you're supposed to cast your vote. That was going on, and on top of
that, how did you cast your vote? Did you go mail or did you go like early? What did you do?
I did mail, bro. Easy. I won't get in line. And
sit at home.
Because but I had a birthday party to.
Yeah, I know. But how does the mail-in vote work? Like, do you have to actually print something and fill up something and post it, or like what do you do?
I'm telling you, from a user experience, from a customer experience, it was amazing. It was the best designed.
So is it all online? Is that what it is?
Best designed anything on paper.
Is it
You
all
go
online?
online and you tell them that you want to opt for a postal vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then they send you an envelope with all the material
wow,
inside it. You open it, you say no or yes, whatever you want it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you put it back in with the mail-in envelope. It's already pre-stamped and everything ready to go. And then you just cast it. That's it. So next time, just do that, man. You know, that's it. You know, a lot
No,
of
I
people
just
did
went
that
in.
this
I
time.
just went in early because this is the first time my wife is going to vote, right? So I was like, oh, let's take her and let's show her like how the whole voting situation works in Australia, basically. So
Well,
just
I
took
mean,
her
it
to
was very nice. The first time I went to vote after I got my citizenship in Australia, it was a very nice experience. You know, you felt like your vote meant something.
yeah, it feels
Go
like you actually meant
You
something.
know, it's very.
By the way, I mean, for all
and
those
it's not
people who
clinical.
are
It was not clinical. It is a
Yeah.
very good experience, not a clinical experience.
yeah, for all those
Opposite
people
of
who are for that 1 or 2 people who are listening to us right now, or the hundreds of people who have gone back into our backlog and looking at this, okay. Omar and I, we both come from a country, or we both grew up in a country where nobody gave a shit as to what we thought. Okay, the government of the country
Correct.
just didn't care about what the people who were there think.
It was a monarchy.
So-
You know, they care,
Yeah.
but they care in a different way. I
They
guess.
yeah, okay, fine. They care in different ways.
short
They don't
way,
they don't want you
that's
to make
that's
the
on a
laws.
whole other podcast to get into.
They don't want you to make laws. Basically, they don't want your hand in making laws. But what they only cared about was that you are well looked after. I guess enough looked after that you don't become destitute and you don't go on the streets or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when we came here, when we became citizens, the first time when I was told to go and vote, I actually went. I think I went with you guys. We were in a group, like we were living almost nearby or something.
Yeah,
And we all
mates.
went in like a big giant group, and it was like the local school, and it was a
And we discussed
weirdly-
before. We discussed prior that who we're gonna vote for.
who we gonna vote for, like how is it gonna work. Yeah, we did all that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So it can be a bit complicated in the beginning. You know, you
If you
come
haven't
from a
done it,
country that's a monarchy, and you come down here, and then you find out, okay, they have all this legislation, they have upper house, lower house, all that.
Yeah.
Local government, state government, and then federal government, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
You're new to the whole
You have-
thing.
yeah,
so
you have no
don't
idea.
know.
Plus, on top
In
of that,
my mind,
even-
I always thought that they'll have the guy who's speaking on TV. and
Yeah.
I want to be a prime minister. His name on it, and someone else's name
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
competing, and then you just put that. I didn't know that you're voting for party.
You're voting for
not
the party, yeah, and
you know.
and the thing is, you don't know which parties what. Like there'll be like what, like 12 parties or 14 parties. How many of a party?
Yeah, there's the Australian sex party. There's all kinds of parties.
There's the
in there
Australian
as well on
pirate
top of
party,
that.
and there's
shooting,
like all
fishing,
kinds.
and
Yeah, the shooting fishing people. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the boating and the fishing
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
party or something like that.
yeah,
it's
they
like
have all these
kind-
different parties.
There's all these weird
Yeah.
wacko parties that exist, and
So
you,
that's
you
what I'm
have to-
saying, right? We go, yeah. So we are in a world. We are living in a time where we have the choice, like this one here. We want to pass a single constitutional changing law
Yeah.
or an act, and that requires a referendum, right? So going from there, you move all the way back to that distant land where at the moment the whole Palestine-Israel situation is unfolding. Okay, and although we are not there, we've never been there, and we probably will never go there, right? Most of the 99% of the world is consuming information via these lines of technology that have been laid
Yeah.
underground and up
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
air and through satellite or whatever you want.
100%.
And
And
through
that,
that, how would you even know that what is real anymore?
Before you, yeah, I was about to get to this point, right? I was like, a lot of
And
what
now it's
was
happening here. People who voted the yes and no, they were confused. What is how?
Yeah,
people
like,
are well
what is-
intentioned,
yeah,
including
yeah.
the people who voted no. Not everybody
Yeah,
is
yeah.
bigoted who voted no, right?
Yeah.
So how would
exactly.
you be able to tell the difference between the yes and the no? Like what is right and wrong on
Yeah,
shore?
like how- because-
on this land people can't tell.
Because on paper, like if I've spoken to people who voted no, and I've spoken to people who voted yes, right? And both of them had their valid arguments. Like you listen to both of them and you go like, yeah, man, you have valid arguments here, and so do you. You also have valid arguments. But it's a matter of what does it actually mean when you vote yes? What actual changes happen in Parliament? That was still kind of confusing. Because some people said that, okay, there's going to be, a group of, there's going to be like a committee, right? That'll actually start making new laws and new regulations.
Yeah.
there was that, and there was like, no, there's going to be no committee. Then the other people who get, no, there's not going to be any committee. Everything is going to go the way it is. We're just going to have, like, the Aboriginal people, their name, like the people of the Aboriginal origin and Torres Strait Islanders or something in the constitution, literally like putting their name into the constitution, adding their name in there. It's just going to be that. So it was kind of confusing. Like, nobody.
Some people are saying it's just an advisory body. Some people are saying it's a committee.
It's a committee.
Some
yeah.
people are saying that no,
It's
we
just
will
gonna
be
be their
able
name.
to make recommendations to make new laws. It was
Yeah.
very vague and intentionally kept vague.
I think it was I have a feeling that it was intentionally kept vague so that tomorrow, whoever is in power, whichever party comes into power, majority power, they are able to just take this bunch of free flowing, like, Aboriginal whatever representatives, whatever it is, take them and form them into whatever they want that would benefit them. You see, that's what I feel like was actually going to happen. So in in reality,
The fact that you feel that way,
Yeah.
that was what was going to happen,
yeah,
and you're
it
not
just
really
shows
sure
you
about it, tells you a lot about
tells you a lot about that, like,
how the rest of the people felt.
how the rest of the people felt. It didn't make sense. Basically, nobody knew what was going on, and this is why with the new conflict that's happening, when I speak to people, and each of them is like they're picking sides, and I'm like, you can't pick sides. You're living like thousands of miles away from there. You're getting second, third, fourth hand information. You don't know what's actually happening there. You have absolutely no
Yeah, I mean,
idea.
when you have someone like Justin Bieber taking a photograph or
Pray
a
for
video
Israel. Yeah, I saw that.
of a whole block that has been completely wiped off,
The face of the earth. Yeah.
just rubble and concrete, right? Just a rubble and rubble of concrete.
It was a drone photo of
it's
a whole block, a whole neighborhood. That was
it's a
flattened.
footage. It's a drone footage. It's a photograph of that.
Yeah.
Out of that, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this second hand. Someone else, came over the other day, and they were telling me that apparently, Justin Bieber did that.
No, but I
nothing
saw
against
that.
him, but what I'm
I
saying
saw
is
that. I saw that whole thing.
You
I
saw
saw
that,
his
right?
post. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
he's, like,
follow him on
praying for
Instagram, so
Israel.
that's why I
Come
saw
on,
it,
man.
like,
This is happening. This is happening in Gaza, right? So
Yeah. And then
that's
he
the
deleted.
problem,
He
right?
got
And
rid of the photo, but he kept the message. It was bizarre. I still remember seeing that.
whoever is running their social media strategy,
Has no idea what the hell
whoever
was
is
going
looking
on.
after their account, they should be fired. But you know what?
100%.
Maybe that's too harsh. They shouldn't be fired. But what I'm saying is that
They
but
should go for
that-
cultural
you can understand my
sensitivity training.
sentiment. Yeah, they need to go for cultural sensitivity training. But I think that you can't really blame tech on its own. Can't do anything. It's just a tool,
No. Yeah.
right? And it's so surprising that there are people who. I mean, the other thing is this, right? We are living in a time where people are consuming short form content. If you gave them something that is longer than a paragraph, or God forbid, longer than a few lines, they zone out.
They
so
do.
This
Unfortunately.
conflict requires a lot of reading and deep understanding.
Yes.
Not
And-
for someone who is only able to understand complex ideas, by the way. It is a very simple. It is, again, I will say it. It's easier to understand what's happening in the conflict and the history of the conflict, or as to how we got here,
Mm-hmm.
or they got here, I should say, than what was going on in the referendum.
But I think, like
Right,
you said,
I think-
bro, the referendum, the whole yes vote side of things, they kept it intentionally vague because they wanted.
Well,
to
I
just
passed a
use it
school. Over here, most of the votes happened in schools.
in the schools. Yeah.
All right.
Over here, it
And,
happened in
the
it's a-
gymnasiums of the schools.
It's a gymnasium, yeah. That's
Or it'll
where
be
it
a town
happened.
hall or something.
Yeah, town hall or
right?
something like that.
So
Yeah.
the gymnasiums of the school, that's where they were hosted. And I passed 2 schools in my neighborhood. I drove by 2 of them to get to the park, all right, to the playground to take my son there. And mate, I saw on the fence, the fences that they had, on the fence of the school, I saw boards planted saying vote yes. There was nowhere to be seen where it said vote no. So only
Yeah, but
one
that's-
kind of
that's
campaign
the
was
funny
being
part,
run out
right?
of all these schools.
That was the
That
funny
is the
part.
funny
So,
part.
so the Vote Yes campaign arguably spent the most amount of money in advertising. They spent the most amount of money getting the word out there, and yet
It got voted no.
it got voted no. That was
Maybe
another
should
thing
have
that
said
I
vote
was.
no. That's what. If they had campaigned for vote no, maybe
They would have been like, yes.
I think the other thing is the human psyche as well is
Mm-hmm.
rebellious in nature. And Aussies, right? The great thing I like about when I came
Mm-hmm.
to Australia as a student, the one thing I realized they have it's like what John Howard said. So John Howard recently said that Australians, right, they have a very healthy Celtic or Celtic, I think that's something.
Celtic, yeah.
A very healthy Celtic dose of skepticism in their blood. That's what John Howard said, right? They have a huge amount of skepticism about
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So they don't just buy into shit, just
Just for the
so
sake of
someone
it.
is saying it, which
Yeah.
is great, right? So I don't trust the government.
No, and then
flavor that
looking at
yeah.
them, we've actually adopted that level of skepticism as well. Because we weren't
Yeah,
this
we
skeptical
come
when
here,
we were
we
in
adopted
Dubai,
that as
when we
well.
when we
Yeah.
were in the UAE, we weren't this skeptical, we weren't this cynical. It's only after we came here and we saw how like the behavior of the people here is, and I think this happens when you when you immigrate to another country, you kind of pick up the you kind of adopt the mannerisms of the people there, the cultural identity of the people there to an extent. So I think that's what happened to
Before
us.
we
Right?
came here, we had a huge American accent,
Yeah.
and over time, it kind of American accent with a mix of the
The mix of the
subcontinent
desi, like
vibe to
subcontinent
it,
vibe, yeah.
the desi accent.
Which we still
Yeah,
have. I mean,
and
that's what we're talking like.
we
right
still
now, but
have,
yeah.
and over time, it has changed. The American part has completely kind of been removed.
I mean, it's
think
still
most
there.
of
The
it is
American
gone.
part is still there, but now I have to, when I'm at work or when I'm talking to colleagues, I have to actually use that Australian vernacular. The Australians.
Yeah, mate,
the-
bring it on.
Yeah, let's bring it
Yeah,
on,
so-
mate. Like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or something like when you're saying computer,
Yeah,
right?
get a bit
If you
more
say
around it.
computer,
you have to be kind of consciously aware. Yeah.
if you say computer, people might not get it, and they might be like, "We have to go computer,"
Computer.
and it's like, oh, then they immediately
Ora.
understand what you mean. You don't have to like
Yeah.
explain yourself or say it again. Things like that, small things like that. It's it's interesting. Anyway, coming back to what we were discussing, when it's really hard now in this era, and it's surprising that, bro, it happened during our lifetimes, right? It's really hard that people thought that if technology was democratized, that every human being on the face of the earth will be the most well educated, most well informed person to ever exist.
Mm.
Isn't it? That was like the dream of technology, right? That the more technologically democratized humanity becomes, the more informed, the more educated, the more everything people will be. But it seems like we're going in the opposite direction. Like the more technology becomes democratized, the more confused people are, and the more easily manipulate. How do you say? The more easily you can then manipulate people to do what it is that you want them to do. It is a very, very strange thing, actually. I don't know, if somebody would have asked me 10, 15, 20 years ago when we were wee lads in Dubai in our high school uniforms, that, bro, do you think we'll if technology goes better, we have access to more information, that we'll be more smarter? I'll be like, yes, of course, we'll be enlightened human beings. We will reach nirvana. That's what I would think. That's what I would have said back then. And then now we're kind of already there. There's information is just pouring out of every single source from every single part of the world. And people are more confused than ever. It's bizarre.
Back then, the avenues, there were not that many resources either. Back then, in each of those Middle Eastern countries, any country on the planet, there was only Fox News, CNN. CNN was the only global channel, and I think BBC launched shortly after that. BBC World News, BBC Radio Service, World Service was there for a long time, but international broadcasting in terms of video, audio, all that together, which was the advent of television, international was CNN was the first one. I think we started during the Gulf War, and you can see how much propaganda was there as well, which we did not know about back then. But many years later now, we are realizing that, there was a lot of propaganda. I mean, recently I was watching, some podcast. I can't remember the guy's name. Don't worry about him. One of those leftist tech entrepreneurs, if you know what I mean. Look, it's like one of those Karl Marx CEOs, so tech CEOs, like something
Champagne
out of those
socialists.
movies, like those Prometheus kind of.
Champagne
Like you
socialist.
mentioned it, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like what's his
And
name?
he said that all news is propaganda. One
No.
thing I agreed with him was when he said all news is propaganda,
Mm.
right? So back in the day, we only had like 2 or 3 newspapers locally.
Mm.
We had a couple of international newspapers. I mean, how many people read it? Mostly people read the Time magazine or Newsweek
They read Khalij Times. They read Khalij Times and they read the Gulf News. That's it.
in English. Yeah.
In English, yeah.
So if you had about a handful of newspapers and then a handful of television media outlets where you're getting all your information from, and completely the internet is completely missing at that moment.
Mm.
And then I remember blogging was a huge thing. In the late 90s, blogging began.
Mm.
That was before Facebook and everything came around.
No,
People
I
started
think
blogging.
in the
A
late
lot of-
90s, no.
A lot of
Like,
journalists.
blogging didn't start until the early 2000s, bro. Like, we're
2000s?
talking about
I think it's
blogspot.com.
post 9/11.
Post 9/11. That's when blogging
Post
really
9/11,
went
right?
crazy.
Yeah,
yeah.
GeoCities, all that was post 9/11.
Yeah,
I think.
GeoCities,
Yeah.
blogspot.com. Yeah, they were all like post 9/11. Just pre and post 9/11. Just around that time.
Around that time, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the journalists, they went underground, or they
Yeah.
would take pseudonyms and they would publish their work,
Yeah.
especially in the Middle East as well. I mean, all over the world.
Mm.
And I think the world was a very less globalized place.
No, but what
when it
my
came to
my whole
information.
rant was that we thought there was this prevalent thought in the zeitgeist, right? That okay, you give people more information, you give people access to more information, you give people access to a lot more education,
And
then-
they'll be more informed.
and they'll be more
Yes, I
well
understand
informed
that.
and
But
smart.
that's
and,
what I'm
you
trying
know,
to say. Back
yeah.
then, there was less sources. So the propaganda was actually not confusing. It worked.
Mm,
There was less confusion.
mm.
But people were more fixated on the facts that are being shoved down their throat.
Yeah.
If it makes sense.
On the information
People
that
were
was being
having
shoved down,
discourse. Yeah, people were having discourse. Whatever the state decided for you to know, you would know. And then your discourse is based on that. Your sleepless nights are based on that. Your arguments with your family members are based on that. Now it's the other way around. I mean, not other way around. Now it's a very different situation where there is too much information, not enough,
Too much noise.
yeah, too much noise, not enough
Surety.
awareness,
Mm.
not enough. And look, no brain can handle that much anyway, right? So there's just not enough depth of understanding of things in general. We're being bombarded with too much information, too many technological avenues. I don't think so. I still think there's not enough. There's way less media outlets even now. Even on the internet, there's only 3 or 4 places to go get all that news. Think about it, right? Back in the day, before we even had Twitter, or I think just when Twitter launched, Google had Google News. You would go type for a certain topic, hit enter, and then in the search engine you click on news. and
Google
it'll
would
give
actually
all
give
the
you
articles
everything.
that-
Yeah.
But those articles, Google is selecting all those media and those information sources,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So again, you're kind of limited. So you've always been limited. The whole idea that we have a huge amount of information coming in, no. Now what is happening is that the conveyor belt is faster. So you're being hit by citizen journalists every few seconds.
Yeah.
And citizen journalists, you're not even sure, are they bots? Are they, fake? Is it fake news? Okay. Are they being run by, organizations
Multi-million
that
organizations,
have
yeah.
thousands of fake accounts, and then they're controlling the narrative?
Yeah.
So we're not talking about X in general. X. We're talking about in general all internet platforms where all of this is possible.
I mean, all the
these
internet platforms
combinations
right
of it.
now, all the news platforms, all the independent news makers, everybody, all the investigative journalists, they're kind of
There's no such thing as independent news, man.
no
That's another
investigative.
thing.
There's
That's
no
again
such thing as
marketing.
independent
Yeah.
news. Yeah, I'm talking about
There
investigative,
is no such
independent.
thing as investigative journalism either. Yeah.
I mean, the independent
You know?
news, independent investigative journalists. Like I don't know what do you call them, but they're like just the average citizen reporter, right? That's what you want to call them. So the average citizen reporter, everybody, everything is just right now condensing to one point on the internet, which is X. X is where they're all just kind of just coalescing all the information, everything is just coming there. So when you open your X feed, it's like you're just being bombarded with like this massive, like you said, the conveyor belt, right? It's just like going into your brain, and you have like little to no context of what is actually happening. And like I said, we grew up in that era where we were children when the conflict was going on, and unfortunately, we ourselves have not put ourselves through any kind of education process or any kind of education I guess journey where we try to read up about like the conflict itself, like what happened. And because I know that there are some great books out there, but I've never actually read them. That's the thing.
Who's got time to read?
Who's got time to
That's
read,
the
bro?
problem. The problem is nobody's got time to read. Nobody wants to read.
They're consuming.
You know, there's heaps
We're all
of
just
books.
consuming
Even-
short form content. That's it.
Even in the world of like Chat GPT and everything, where things can be summarized, now you're worried about whether things are being summarized in the right way.
Or
Are we
if
dealing
you
with
ask
bias,
that particular question, who's on the other end monitoring you? Who's on the other end making sure,
Yeah, correct.
looking at, okay, oh, what is this person asking? What kind of questions is this person asking? I recently got like a pro version of ChatGPT, and it gives you access to ChatGPT 4.0 along with like ChatGPT Vision. And I've been like screwing around with that a little bit. And ChatGPT Vision, honestly, is pretty awesome. It's amazing. Okay, like you can give it an image. Like there was this one T-shirt that I really kind of liked, and I gave it an image, and I asked it who actually did the designs for this. Like which artist actually made this T-shirt, and it was pretty good at like it gave me a website where I can go and find more T-shirts like it, and through that I found out who the artist is. So it didn't give me the artist name straight up, but it gave me the website where that T-shirt was from, because I just saw it on a YouTube video, and some YouTuber was wearing it. And I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good T-shirt. And I just screenshotted it, put it into Google, like into GPT Vision, and I asked it, where do you think who made the T-shirt? And it gave me the website where you can go and buy the T-shirt from. So it's like it was an amazing like experience from that perspective. But then there are certain controversial things that I want to ask GPT, but then I have to stop myself. I have to go like, is Big Daddy Microsoft like keeping track of this? Are they actually? I know I'm paying for this service, and technically the service should be. I can ask it the most depraved, the most weirdest things that I ever want to, and it technically should be confidential between me and my instance of ChatGPT. But I don't know. I'm still kind of
there's no
skeptical
guarantee.
and very
Well, if there's a doubt, when there
is doubt, there is no doubt.
There's no
exactly.
doubt. Yeah.
When there is doubt, there
I
is
think
no
that's
doubt.
what Robert De Niro says in Ronin.
Goodfellas, right?
He says, when there's a doubt, there is no doubt.
Which movie is it? Goodfellas?
Ronin.
Ronin. That's right.
It's one of those car chase.
one of those car.
kind of movies.
One of those cop chase movies. Yeah, I know.
Great movie, man. I think I'm gonna watch that soon. Yeah, I'm not. watching it now, so it's a great
Get
movie.
yourself refreshed.
Sean Bean is in it as well. Sean Bean is there. He's good. He's got a short role, but he's good.
Sean Bean has
So,
always been
I
that
think-
kind of character, right? He's always got short roles, but they're all like amazing roles.
I think before he achieved greatness, he had those short roles. you
Yeah.
know, and after that, I think he got a few.
He's
a
still
great
got
actor,
short roles.
but I think he just
He's still got short roles. He's a short role guy.
He had a couple of shows. He had, I think, 1 or 2 shows where he was the main character, but they flopped or didn't get renewed. Didn't have enough ratings or whatever. So there are a lot of those kind of actors who are amazing actors, but they just can't carry a show. Or the wrong show, wrong timing, wrong network, whatever. But yeah, I mean, look, in terms of overall conflict, and the more the conflict is going to go on for longer, the more desensitized people are going to get.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it. It's pretty evident.
It's
with
already
the whole,
happening.
Ukraine.
It's already
Ukraine
happening.
and Russia.
Where people are going, oh, there's like, death on both sides. Both sides people are dying. And I'm like, what? So what? Like, yeah, they're dying. But
Well,
you
there
can't.
are some companies, they're actually calling it the conflict in the Middle East. They're not even naming the countries.
Yeah,
They're not even naming. They
Yeah.
don't want to get into it.
They don't wanna get into it.
Just don't want to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Conflict in the Middle East. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about? What do you mean conflict in the Middle East? Like,
Yeah,
you know, be
but
a bit,
bro,
can you be
that's
a bit
been
more specific?
that's been going
Are you
on
talking about the
since.
Yemen one? Are you talking about the Syria one? Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, but they've been that's
They're
been
so
going on.
they're so shit scared, bro. They don't want to pick a side.
No, they have picked a side.
Or
No, they have
or-
picked a side. It's just that they just don't want to acknowledge the other side. You know, they just don't want to acknowledge the other side.
No, when they say conflict in the Middle East, I think they're not picking a side. If they say, our heart goes out to Israel or our heart goes out to Palestine, then
They're picking,
they're
a,
picking
side.
a side.
Yeah.
But I think it's like what.
And you know what the weird part is?
Trump said.
Online, the weird part is all the people who are like who you imagine to be lefty, right? They are all going towards blue, team blue. They're going to team team blue. Team blue is Israel. They're going to team blue because they've got the blue and
is
the
it
white.
the
Yeah.
lefties?
A lot of lefties.
No, I thought the lefties were no. The right were the ones. Who
No,
were
the right ones are
Israel.
definitely going there. But there's a lot of lefties also who
And
are
the
going there.
lefties are mostly in Palestine.
No, but there's a lot of lefties who are going to team blue as well.
Yeah, but
And-
the lefties, I think they think it's the lefties think that it's Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Yeah. They're
that,
going,
yeah.
but then
They're in that narrative.
there are those people who are like super ultra communistic, right? They are like they will tell you to your face that they are communistic, right? There are these some UK. There's this one news reporter who's in the UK who he comes off and he says, "Yep, I'm communistic," right? And I follow this guy, and he's basically on the side of on the other side, okay. On the red, white, and green side. Okay, he's on that side, and I'm just going. I'm like, look at what's happening. Like your political leanings no longer determine who you're going to support anymore. Your political leanings are just a matter of your personal.
Yeah, I think
You know.
that is the political side of things.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the technological side
Yeah.
and how the technology is being used. and how the
100%,
technology
100%.
is basically getting people to flip and stick to certain
No,
sides.
but I'm
or
saying
take sides.
technology like Twitter has actually exposed all that. Like it's actually not exposed. It's actually forced people to pick sides. Those people who are picking sides, they're picking it publicly on technology, like on the platform, on Twitter or
Yeah,
on
these
X or whatever.
platforms, yeah.
They're actually publicly. So if that platform didn't exist, you would have had to actually look more harder.
Which did not happen overtly with the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Yeah.
It was mostly Ukrainian because they have blocked, a lot of the. I mean, Russians can't access a lot of the, unless they have a VPN. And obviously,
then.
the people who are on the outside of Russia, who are Russian descent, they have access to these platforms. They are picking sides and they're trying to tell their side of the story. So same thing applies to Palestine. Most of the people who are talking about Palestine, apart from the journalists who are there, are mostly on the outside, like people you and me. And they're trying to shed some light by trying to inform people like, look, historically this is what happened. Historically this is what happened. That happened, and
Like this
particular
isn't
war
just something
happened
that
and
just happened like overnight.
they're trying to
Yeah.
revise history for people, trying to explain it to them like because such things have happened in the past, that's why we think that we need to support them. But I think the best thing is what Trump kind of said, right? Not on this issue. I've not listened to any politician from the time the conflict has unfolded. Trump said in a CNN interview, someone asked like, who do you think is right about, I think, Russia or Ukraine or some along those lines, a question about the war that, is Russia right or Ukraine right? He's like, at the moment, all I want is a war to stop. I don't want people dying. I don't want people dying on both sides. Right? So I think the idea is that first things first, ceasefire needs to happen, which will happen. Israel, it's always been in that manner. They retort, the bombing goes on for a couple of days, a week, and then they will stop, and then they will sign kind of a peace treaty or something. And every time they go to war, they take on more land.
Yeah, definitely.
Out of Gaza and the West Bank, right? So I think it's not about picking sides. It's just the role that technology is playing.
Yeah.
In informing people and getting people's
It's not
point of view
doing a
across
good
the
job.
internet.
So far, it's not doing a good job.
And it's not doing a good job because people are misusing
Because
it.
people are
using
misusing
it
it.
in a
That's
certain way.
right. Yeah.
right?
people
The
or
tools,
companies or entities
yeah.
or whatever you want to call them, they're all misusing it. They're all just
They completely hijacked
they're
it.
hijacking it. Yeah.
Hijacked it. And in X, I think it's a good learning thing for the company this time around, because now they have a real live event that is taking place, and people are reporting from the ground, and they're able to see the data, the way it's flowing, who's on what side, who's misinforming, who's not misinforming, who's been posting and deleting, or how many new active users have come online, or
Yeah,
they've
there's
been
all
able to
these.
see all these trends. And hopefully for the
Yeah.
future, they'll be able to make changes that kind of create that neutral
I
ground
wonder.
for
I
people
wonder
to
if
say
there's
what
an
they want to
actual.
say.
I wonder if there's an actual set of tools that people can actually utilize to, because you know how in X or some websites
Well,
like
I'm
Facebook
sure people are
even,
using ChatGPT right now to find out what's been going on in Israel and
most likely.
all that. And
But but you know what the weird part in X that's happening recently is, you know how X, you can, when somebody says something, view people who are consuming or people who are looking at it, you can actually go and add comments, and like it'll come up as below, like, oh, users added comment that this is not true and this never happened or whatever. Like they'll have that little blurb right at the end of a tweet. Like if somebody tweeted something weird or something that doesn't make sense or something that's not true, they will do a fact check for you. And they did this for Trump. That feature was basically there to stop Trump from spreading lies, but it's now kind of being used for everybody, which is weird. It's just bizarre. It was
like
built.
where people gave additional context.
Yeah, the context, yeah, additional context, yeah. So it was used as a tool to fact check Trump. That's how it started, but now it's fact checking everybody. Not just fact checking, but
It's
there's
been
now
rolled out on
people.
everybody else.
Yeah, like the other people on X can actually write, but give context surrounding what the tweet is. So they can say, no, whatever this person said in this tweet is actually untrue and is widely assumed, blah blah blah. They'll give you like some additional context for it. I just thought that was like a very nice thing in X. How true is it, or how useful is it? It still remains to be seen. So far, it's a bit useful for me, because when I read all this news and all this information, I go, okay, hang on, is that true? Is that not true? Like, where is this source from? And people give that additional context. It's really helpful. So I think that's like one very good use of technology that's happening recently. And honestly, that's a feature that, if in reality, if Mark Zuckerberg was in charge of X, he would probably make that a paid feature. That additional context fact checking would have been a paid feature.
Zaki has different aspirations as to what. Look, I think. Obviously, my own opinion.
Oh, by the way, Elon, if you're listening to this, on the off chance you're listening, don't make it a paid feature. Let it be free, please. Just leave it alone.
I don't think he is, though. It's all good. I feel that Zuckerberg has his own version of reality, like all tech billionaires.
Oh, he does. 100%. When he said that in that podcast, when he said that, he's like, oh, my understanding of reality is real life and virtual life mixed together. I was like, bro, you've lost the plot.
And the virtual.
I'm like, you have lost the plot. You literally have lost the plot, bro. Like, you are.
But I think if you put into the bucket of realism, obviously, it doesn't match up. But if you put it from a philosophical point of view, if you believe,
yeah, but bro, philosophy is not an accurate representation of reality. Philosophy tries to understand abstract aspects of reality, but it isn't reality.
Yeah, but a lot of things in philosophy have become true over time. Though, you know what I mean? Like the discovery of germs. The idea of I think the first philosopher was Thebes.
I don't know whoever it
starts with T. I can't remember the name. The first philosopher. And he, said, I think it was Thebes. He said that, everything is from water. Like he, equated semen, he equated blood, he equated like all life comes out of the ocean. Because he saw like fish or something coming out of the water or snails, and he kind of equated. And this was like back in, pre-Greek era or early Greece.
I don't know anything about that.
Become that civilization. So there are all these philosophers who always like pondered, okay, what is life? This is before Isa alayhi salam, before all the prophets came, right? And during that, like if you look at Aristotle and all these guys, right, they're always like wondering about life and what's been going on. And so a lot of the guesses that they had or the calculated guesses they made have turned out to be true. So what I'm saying is that he has his own version of reality. He is now in that position where he's able to dictate that I think this is what reality is.
And I'm
So
going to
he's
give it to
this
everybody.
jujitsu doing tech billionaire. He's a jiu-jitsu performing tech billionaire who is now a philosopher as well, right? So in some way, all powerful people, they do use, they might not be great at philosophy or have any much understanding.
But they do
of
have a certain philosophical base. They do, yeah.
they have a philosophical base because what they try and do is basically they're not happy with the current version of reality. They're not happy. It's like, those consultants who come into your business and then they tell you that, you know what, this process here is not working. I have a solution for you, but that solution, it
requires you to have a
me
rethink
tell
of
you
everything.
to change this process.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, rethink everything. Let's rearrange this entire process line, redo this entire process, and then the solution will work for you. So for solution to actually work for you, you have to rejig yourself. So for them to sell you a product that works for you, you got to rejig your mindset, bro. You got to think things differently. If you continue thinking that this is reality here, right, then that headset that he's trying to sell you is not gonna.
It's not going to work. And it
There
seems
you
like
go.
it hasn't
He's saying
worked.
that-
I think the sales numbers for that, the initial sales numbers for the Quest 3 have come. Not doing really well, bro, apparently.
I think a lot of people just do not see the use case.
Or
But
they
I
don't
guarantee
trust,
you, when
or they don't
Apple
trust
comes
that.
out with their headset,
Yeah, Apple will
could be that. But
Apple
once
will
the
actually
Apple headset
change.
comes, it'll go mainstream.
No, Apple will
because
definitely
they-
change, yeah.
It'll change because all they're going to do is just take apps from the App Store and put it up on the big screen.
No, that'll be
in
step
front of,
one. That'll be stage one. They just take the
Yeah.
Apple apps from the
Yeah,
App
yeah.
Store and put it on the screen, and then
and
the
that's where the
community
adoption will come.
and then the community will come and then build those specific apps that actually allow you to use the headset the way it's meant to be used. What I think.
Well, ultimately, what do you think?
No, go for it.
Ultimately, I feel that all these tools or pieces of hardware, all these advances in software and hardware, they're actually distancing us from each other.
Of course.
Rather than create empathy, rather than you being able to sympathize with what's going on, it's actually desensitizing people. I mean, if you are able to look at, the distraction and havoc that's been caused right now on that on your special head computer, is it going to get you more closer to the action
No.
and empathize more for the people who are there? No, not really.
No,
I don't
it's
think so.
not at all. It's not
So,
gonna okay. It's not going
Just
to
turning us into consumers. Man.
basically. Look, what that technology again, headset technology. It's like remember 3D TVs?
Yeah, but why a headset?
No, hang on.
Why?
Remember 3D TVs? Remember 3D TV technology? When 3D TVs were like everywhere. Every single manufacturer was selling you 3D TVs and you had to buy those special glasses to wear so that you can watch your freaking 3D
okay,
Blu-ray with whatever. Everybody believed, all the major manufacturers believed that 3D TVs were the way forward. Right? They spent hundreds of
when
thousands.
Avatar came out.
They spent billions of dollars on, and Avatar came out. Avatar came out after 3D Blu-ray technology kind of was, implemented. And Avatar still couldn't save 3D Blu-ray tech. It just couldn't save it. 3D Blu-ray tech just died. It just went and it died. Then OLED came and all that other stuff happened. But my whole shtick is, I feel like the headset technology, right? To an extent, it's going to be always a niche. There's going to be like a niche of people who are always. We're not going to get to a stage like Ready Player One, like what most people say. Oh, we're all going to be like living in shipping containers, wearing our freaking
Being chased by the Donkey Kong.
by the Donkey Kong, whatever. Okay,
Or
King Kong. Sorry, being chased by King Kong and whatever, all that rubbish. I don't think we're going to get into that situation. Like I said, my understanding of the way the world is working and the way the world is going is we're going to enter that whole Deus Ex situation where everybody's going to be augmented. Okay? Everybody's going to have augments and we're going to just go about our lives with augmentations, That is, I think, where we're headed.
Augmentations will begin because augmentations will begin, but I just kind of feel that it's just going to be more money printing.
It's going to be more money printing. It's going to be more money printing. It's going to be more
the
inflation.
state is the one that's going to give you augmentation. The corporations are going to give you the augmentation.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Normal.
Yeah, you're going to buy it on a plan from Telstra or from Vodafone or from Optus or
And
whatever.
you just work to pay off that.
Exactly. There'll be like a telephone augmentation. That you implant this stuff in your ear, and you have like it connected to your optic nerve, and you'll be able to see like all the stuff with regards to your telephone shit. It can go wild. It can go really crazy. But will you and I live to see that era? Probably. When we're like 89 or 90, we're on our deathbed.
You want to get your kidneys changed? Yeah, maybe. Get maybe a pacer, a heart pacer.
A heart pacer. If you watch RoboCop, right? The movie,
a whole new heart, 3D printed valve.
Yeah. 3D printed valves, bro. I need to get me one of those. I need to get some nice 3D printed valves. If I can.
might as well change a few organs.
Change a few organs here and there.
Like that guy over there who's trying to transfuse his son's blood into his own body.
Oh, bro, that stuff. Yeah, that is, bro.
I think we covered him. We covered him.
But bro, it's not just him. It's not just him. A lot of billionaires are doing that.
Oh, I mean, a lot of normal people are doing it as well. Like if you go to Netflix has a documentary about it, which is Biohackers or something like that. Yeah. That's the first time I actually heard about it, but it was not interesting.
So now people it's gonna become this trend where people are gonna raise children. They're gonna have children just so that they can get their blood like cycled. It's so messed up.
Or genetic. Or you hire someone from they'll find some
kid in Mumbai slums of Mumbai.
Some kid from a sub-Saharan African tribe.
Oh my God.
They'll find I'm just saying some tribe that has children. Perfect teeth and perfect jawline, and they have the perfect.
And they'll start breeding them in test tubes.
The perfect blood is the ideal blood composition that is required to stay young or whatever is flowing, and then they'll find that kid and they'll say, all right, let's
dissect this kid and let's see how it works.
I don't say dissect, just they'll pay them for transfusion. That's all.
No, that'll be the beginning. That'll be in the beginning. And then they'll try to clone that
It's
child.
like when they went to the Red Indians and told them that we want to buy Manhattan from you. And it's like, you want to buy Manhattan? You want to buy this land from us? Like, fuck, what a scam. Let's sell it to them. You want to buy the cloud as well? I'll send you the cloud, Like, they did not know the property rights was a thing back then. So now I think if you approach those tribes, they probably wouldn't even know what that blood. Okay, blood is coming out of my body, and you're gonna pay me for it, and I can make more blood just by
take
eating.
it.
So,
take it away.
It's like take it away. So I think so. There is crazy tech. There's essential tech, and then there's this disruptive tech as well, right? So, but at the moment, I think I put the headsets in the crazy tech bucket. Essential tech is obviously we need more platforms like X. I think X in itself,
we need more platforms like X, and we need more people like Elon to allow X or whatever the platform it is to be run like without control. Go
it's
for
like
it.
Rumble is there. Yeah, I've been thinking about putting our.
We should be on Rumble, bro.
Rumble has got a lot of stuff, a lot of people tuning in.
Yeah.
At the moment, I mean, what I've heard is that it is mostly right-wing media that's on there.
It's okay, but we'll be the very first centrist.
We'll
be the very first centrist media over there. I'm like, I don't take side there. I don't take side here. I am right in the middle, bro. No matter what you say, I'm on the side of humanity. That's what we should do. Our stuff.
Yeah. So
take the humanist
We
approach.
need more platforms. Yeah. So at the moment, there's only a couple of tech giants, and they own all the platforms. And whether propaganda will always be there. It's not going anywhere.
Propaganda is not going anywhere.
It's here to stay.
Hell no.
Yeah. So whether the propaganda, the misinformation is going to increase.
Oh, 100%.
You know what? I don't even think misinformation is the issue. I think it's just too many voices, too much noise.
No, but that'll
become the issue in the future.
There is misinformation as well. That is also adding to the whole too many voices situation. So it's going to increase. The more avenues you create for information to be disseminated, the more information the more misinformation you are allowing into that pipe. You know what I mean? So it's like, if there's like 10 pipes, you will have 10 pipes filled with misinformation. If you have 20, they will also have misinformation. So the more avenues you open up, like, with the spatial computing, you have another avenue now to get into people's eyeballs. That will also cause misinformation. The only thing I like about the whole spatial computing thing is that I don't have to sit in front of like a freaking monitor when I do work. I can just put that thing on, have the thing, like, look at a freaking white wall or whatever, and it'll be like as big or as tiny.
It's very
as I
weird
want
when other people look at you. It's very weird when you. I mean, it's really weird.
It is weird. No, it is 100%. There's going to be like a
yeah.
major adjustment period happening there. There's going to be like, families, the way they interact and everything. All this, there's going to be a huge major adjustment period.
A lot of neck issues. I think I'm going to prop up. A lot of neck issues, the back neck issues.
Oh, 100%. Bro, not just neck issues. People who wear headphones.
It's adding weight in front of your head.
Right? People who wear headphones, right? They have this band that's up there. The band that's up here. Yeah. There's people who wear headphones like for a long time, like these streamers and these like online streamers and Twitch celebrities, right? They wear headphones bro, these headphones, the ones that they wear, it changes the shape of their head because the headphone has been on their head for so long. It literally causes like a dip in their head. Yeah, there's like videos of it online. Where streamers, right? They have a full head of hair, and what they do is they shave their hair. And they see like there's this visible dip in their entire skull, and it's a reality. Like, it's real. It was one of those things that I saw and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, it actually changes the shape of your head. Oh, it's unbelievable. Anyway, but I think we're almost at time. I mean, I don't have any more time to discuss anything anymore. So we'll probably just close it off here. Look, it's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, technology is being used in a really shitty way. Yes, but technology has also been used in a good way. The very same platform that is pushing a ton of propaganda.
But that's why I think we need to seek out more
platforms like
sources
Twitter,
of
more platforms like
going
X.
back to the idea of reading books, and back to the idea of chasing journals or in-depth studies that are done, or historical studies that have been done about these big pieces of events that are taking place and what's behind them, and reading more deeply into it. So I think it's more of an attitude and a healthy dose of skepticism. So
there's no consistency there.
Yeah, there's no consistency. So, all right, I think next week we'll be back to our usual way of doing things,
Hopefully.
Maybe less of the gloom, more of the doom, and
less,
a bit more fun, I guess.
Less doom, more gloom.
All right, brother. All right. Thank you.
See ya.